You pull off the dark road, follow the illuminated arrows painted on the asphalt, and roll to a stop next to a glowing menu board. You know the sound of the crackling speaker box. You know the blast of warm, fryer-scented air hitting your face as you roll down the glass, and the routine of handing a bill to a teenager wearing a headset. We do this billions of times a year. Buying food without ever leaving the driver's seat has become an ordinary, daily social custom. But that 18-square-inch window did more than sell burgers. It turned the parking lot from a social destination into a transit lane, shifting the focus of the American meal from the person in the booth to the driver in the queue. A century ago, the system was built around staying parked. In 1921, Kirby's Pig Stand opened on a stretch of highway between Dallas and Fort Worth. They pioneered what they called the American motor lunch. In this era, the automobile was treated like a mobile living room. You drove to a restaurant specifically to sit in your car and eat on the premises. You'd pull into the lot, and a car hop would glide up to your window. You placed your order face to face. You drank root beer out of glass mugs and ate off a heavy metal tray physically clipped to your car door. It was a leisurely way to eat. But the economic reality of the post-war years meant that the time spent sitting in a parking lot was becoming too expensive. The drive-in relied on human interaction, and human interaction takes time. It created a physical bottleneck that a society moving toward higher speeds would not tolerate. In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed the Federal Aid Highway Act. This was a piece of legislation that authorized a national system of interstate highways to improve infrastructure and facilitate easier transportation across states. The project resulted in the paving of 41,000 miles of highway. It was the largest public works project in history, creating a web of concrete that linked cities directly to their distant outskirts. These highways allowed families to move into new suburban houses while commuting back to the city for work. For the first time, the automobile was the only viable way to get anywhere. As commutes grew, parents had less time for food preparation at home. The car was no longer a place for leisure. It was an isolated pod used to navigate between work and domestic life. This new landscape required a food delivery system that could match the velocity of the vehicles traveling through it. The change started in Springfield, Missouri. In 1947, Sheldon Red Cheney bought a former Sinclair gas station and cut a hole into the side of the building. Instead of sending staff to the cars, Cheney had drivers pull right up to the window. He handed burgers and root beer directly to the travelers so they could get back on the road. He intended to call the place Red's Giant Hamburger, but his sign was too tall to fit under the power lines. To make it work, he simply dropped the E and the R, creating the name Red's Giant Hamburg. A year later, in Baldwin Park, California, Harry Snyder was looking for ways to speed up service at his new burger stand, In-N-Out. Snyder engineered a two-way speaker box in his garage. Customers could now place their orders while sitting in line, long before they ever reached the window. The speaker box meant that a restaurant could process an order while the car was still 30 feet away. It moved the kitchen's internal timing into the parking lot, allowing the staff to work on the meal before the driver ever reached the glass. Smaller chains adopted these windows quickly, but McDonald's resisted. For years, the industry leader stuck to a walk-up window model, requiring customers to park and stand in a physical line outside. That changed in 1975 because of a single restaurant in Sierra Vista, Arizona, located near the Fort Huachuca Army base. Local sales were dropping because of a military regulation. Soldiers wearing their olive drab fatigues were not permitted to get out of their cars while off post. To serve them, the store owner cut a sliding window into his wall. Soldiers could now get their meals without violating uniform rules. By 1979, more than half of all McDonald's locations featured drive-thru windows. A workaround for a military rule had become the new blueprint for the global fast food industry. The success of the window eventually forced car manufacturers to adapt, leading to the standardization of interior cup holders by the late 1980s. It also changed roadside architecture. Restaurants shifted from welcoming dining rooms to buildings designed to accommodate wraparound driving lanes. New designs focused on multi-lane stacking. The goal was no longer maximizing human comfort, but managing idling vehicles without spilling onto the street. To fuel this system, the industry created high-stress jobs managed by stopwatches. Every second is tracked to ensure 70% of sales can pass through a single window. We have finally returned to that familiar, atmospheric hum of the glowing speaker box on a cold, dark, rainy night. The convenience of the window came with a cost to our geography. We traded the social spaces of the drive-in for the efficiency of the queue, moving ourselves through the landscape one 18-inch opening at a time.